What is going on, guys? Rogue TCG here, bringing the Yu-Gi-Oh! TCG deck profile you all voted for, and here I am responding. Here is Labrynth. Now, I had full intentions to do an in-person deck profile for this deck, but unfortunately, I am missing exactly one card from this deck that has not arrived in the mail yet. So unfortunately, I cannot bring it to you in paper. And that one card is the lovely Labrynth herself. So I don't got no bitches. Man. But anyway, Labrynth is a super fun deck. This deck is a trap fiend deck. It kind of locks us into fiends with some of its cards and basically tries to outgrind our opponents. But this deck is super cool, and also it's a lot more budget now than players might think. Although it's not completely budget because we do need to play cards like Chaos Angle, Typhon, and our mandatory copy of Espinus Little Knight. The deck still is quite competent, even though it has a little bit of a high price tag. And if given the right pilot, you absolutely can top some events with this deck still. So that's enough yapping about the deck. Let's go over the profile. Alrighty, so starting off our list, we're on triple Arion, the Labrynth Servant. If it's normal or special, we can add a Labrynth card from our deck to our hand, except for itself. If another monster leaves the field by my normal trap effect, we are able to draw a card and then apply the effect. From our hand, we can either special summon a fiend monster or immediately set a spell or trap, and we can only activate one Ariana Servant effect per turn, and only once that turn. So we can't double dip on the effects, we have to choose one or another. But this card is quite good, because it just adds a Labrynth card so we can get whatever we need at the given moment. We are on triple Arius of the Labrynth Butler. During the main phase, quick effect, we can send this card from our hand or field to the graveyard to special summon a Labrynth or set one normal trap from our hand. Then if we did set the normal trap, it can be activated the turn that we set it. And when our opponent activates a card or effect in response to a card or activation of a normal trap or a Labrynth card, except for itself, with quick effect, we're able to activate this effect in the graveyard to special summon it from the graveyard. And then each effect is a once per turn. This card is Legacy support for the deck, and Legacy is pretty a generous term because it was just like about a year after Labrynth came out, if I'm correct. This card is fantastic in the deck. It functionally serves as the previous copies of Ku-Klok, where Ku-Klok allowed us to activate cards the turn they're set. This sets them, and then we are able to activate them immediately afterwards, including on our opponent's turn, and there's no conditions on the card that we set. Although Ku-Klok says we have to control a Labrynth monster in order to activate the set card, Arius just allows us to activate it with no ulterior conditions. So it makes Arius very good, especially given the fact that it'll bring itself back from the graveyard, so you can use that effect again on your opponent's turn. We're on one Lady Labrynth of the Silver Castle and one Lady Labrynth, Lovely Labrynth of the Silver Castle. Lady allows us to, if we control a set card, our opponent cannot target this card with card effects, and it can't be destroyed by card effects. We can use each of the following effects of Lady once per turn. Once per turn, if a Labrynth card or effect or a normal trap card is activated this turn, except for Lady, quick effect, we can special summon this card from our hand in defense position. And when a normal trap is activated, quick effect, we can set a normal trap with a different name directly from our deck. This is the main card we want to get on our board as quick as possible, because this allows us to basically sift through our traps in our deck as we activate traps and set them according to circumstance. We're on one Lovely Labrynth of the Silver Castle. Our opponent can now activate monster effects in response to the activations of our normal traps. We're going to activate each of the following effects of Lovely Lady of the Silver Castle once per turn. Oh my god, what a tongue twister. We can target one normal trap in our graveyard, send it to our field, but it cannot be activated this turn unless we control a fiend monster, adding an additional clause onto the trap it sets, which is pretty good in terms of balance, but it's a little bit unfortunate in terms of bustability of us playing it. And if another monster leaves the field by our normal trap effect, we can destroy a card in our opponent's hand or field at random. It's random if it's at hand. If it's on field, we get to choose. It is non-targeting destruction, which is incredible, especially given this deck's traps are also very good as well. We're on triple Labrynth Chandraglier and also triple Stovey Torby. These functionally serve the same purpose, allowing us to discard them and another card in order to set a Labyrinth spell or trap from our hand or deck. And then each of them has an effect if a monster leaves the field by our normal trap effect. Chandraglier is going to add itself back to hand, while Stovey Torby will special summon itself from the graveyard. And then lastly, for our Labrynth monsters, we're on one Labrynth Ku-Klok. We can quick effect discard this card this turn. We can activate one normal trap that was set this turn. We can, if we control a Labrynth We're on 1 Labrynth Kuklog. Quick effect, we can discard this card. We can activate 1 normal trap card that was set this turn if we control a Labrynth monster. If a card is sent from our hand to the graveyard to activate a normal trap card or a Labrynth card or effect, except for Kuklog, while this card's in our graveyard, we can add it from graveyard back to hand, or we can special summon it. So it's like a mix between Arias and the graveyard effects of Labrynth, Stovey, Torby, and Chandrag Lear combined. It's like the worst of all worlds, at least in terms of its first effect, although the second effect, Recurrence, is still quite good, which is why we're still playing it at 1, because otherwise it's just another copy of Arias, and it's just good to have more Labrynth names in deck for flexibility. We're on triple copies of Big Welcome Labrynth, allowing us to special summon a Labrynth from our hand, deck, or graveyard, and then bounce a card we control to our hand, a monster specifically, and we can banish this card from our graveyard, target a fiend monster we control, or if we control a level 8 or higher fiend, we can target 1 card our opponent controls instead and return that card to the hand, and we can only use 1 Big Welcome effect per turn and only once that turn. So functionally being either our setup or a bounce whenever we need it is quite good, especially since we can bounce our own cards, so if our opponent sets up a card like Skill Drain, we can play around it. We're on 2 copies of Welcome Labrynth. We can special summon a Labrynth monster from our deck until the end of our next turn after this card resolves. We cannot special summon cards from the deck or extra except for fiends, so that's why our extra is primarily fiends. And if a monster leaves the field by our normal trap effect while this card's in our graveyard, except the turn it was sent there, we can set it immediately. And we can only use each effective Welcome Labrynth once per turn. Quite a good card. Like, no issues with this. It's just Big Welcome is a lot more versatile than our normal Welcome Labrynth. And then lastly, we're on 1 copy of Labrynth, our field spell. You can if we activate a set Welcome Labrynth normal trap, we can activate this additional effect at resolution, and just allowing us to additionally destroy a card on the field, non-targeting. And then its second effect says if we activate a non-Labrynth normal trap card, except during the damage step, we can special summon a fiend from our hand or graveyard, and each Labrynth effect is a once per turn. This card is pretty good. The main reason we're just playing 1 is because it is searchable off of Ariana, as well as settable off of our Chandrag Lear and Stovey Torby. But this card is quite good when paired with any of our traps, either Labrynth traps or not. We do get some sort of advantage off of it, so we are just playing the 1 copy, because our opponent does have to divert resources into popping it, or else we're probably going to get away with the game. We're on 2 copies of Absolute King Back Jack. If you're playing more copies of Fiend Griefing, I would recommend going a little bit more into it, because this card is really good in this deck. But this card reads, during our opponent's turn, quick effect, we can banish this card from our graveyard, excavate the top card of our deck. If it is a normal trap card, we can set it to our field, otherwise send it to the graveyard. That set card can be activated during this turn. If this card is sent to the graveyard, we can look at the top 3 cards of our deck and then reorganize them. So it's kind of like the Magic equivalent of scrying, where we get to look at the cards and reorganize them in whatever order we would like. So this both sets up for its first effect, as well as allows you to organize the top of your deck, so you make sure you're hitting what you need, and then you're drawing afterwards what you want to be drawing. So Backjack is quite good, and we are playing 2 copies. This is also a really fantastic discard paired with Stovey Torby or Chandrag Lear. For our trap cards, we're on triple destructive Daruma Karma Cannon, still very powerful in the meta right now. We're on double copies of Transaction Rollback, able to copy our stuff from our graveyard. We're on triple copies of Trap Trick to be able to basically tutor for whatever trap we could need at the time, although we only can tutor for a handful of traps, being Big Welcome, Welcome Labrynth, Daruma Karma Cannon, Transaction Rollback, and Infinite Impermanence. And we are on 1 copy of Fiend Griefing to send whatever we could need to the graveyard, being Backcheck, although we could potentially play 2 if we just wanted to up it to 41. We are also on Unchains, 1 Sharvara and 1 Abominable Chamber of the Unchained for extra link material, as well as a trap effect being activated. So pretty good stuff there. There's also a free resource we're able to grab off of Sharvara. And then for our hand traps and non-engine, we're on 2 triple copies of Infinite Impermanence and triple copies of Ash Blossom and Joyous Spring. Ash is primarily going to be here for the Mulcharmius. Now onto our extra. We're on 1 copy of Relinquished Anima for backjack related purposes. We're primarily going to be on Fiend monsters, so maybe a little bit unoptimal at first glance, although I assure you it is quite good given our Fiends and our synergy with discards, especially given our backjack. We're on 1 Nightmare Phoenix, 1 Nightmare Unicorn. These cards we can play around Skill Drain by bouncing it as Chainlink 2 with Big Welcome Labrynth's Graveyard effect after we activate it to target the Skill Drain. So we're able to remove it that way. That's also why we're not playing Access Code Talker. We're on 2 Muckraker from the Underworld, being able to reborn cards. Really powerful effect in this deck specifically. Again, discarding cards is really good, as well as it does have a protection effect stapled onto it. One S-Penis Little Knight isn't a fiend, but we do play Rage, so it can actually come up. And then we're on Unchained's Yama, Rage, Anguish, and Abomination. We're on a very small package, Moon of the Closed Heaven and Underworld Goddess of the Closed World. We do actually have a lot of ability to spam the field with the little guys. Like Stovey Torpedoes enters the battlefield, Labrynth enters the battlefield. Like, we're going to have an Ariana just sitting there. So we actually can make Moon of the Closed Heaven and then do the funny play to go into Underworld Goddess of the Closed World, which is very funny, although I do not think it's optimal. We're on 1 Chaos Angle and 2 copies of Typhon Sky Crisis. This one is a fiend if you didn't realize, so we can summon this under the restriction of the Labrynth cards. In our side deck are just potential cards we are able to play, although Dimensional Barrier specifically, I would recommend either siding or maining. This card is very good in this deck. As well as the 1 copy of the Blackcoat Laughs with a Bullish Burial Goods. We're also able to tutor for this. This has a pretty alright on-field effect and then a really good graveyard effect, so if we're going to be sending it with back check or sending it with back check or just sending it to the graveyard with goods, it's good either way. And then the last copy of the Feed Griefing that I previously mentioned. But that's going to be about it for the video. Thank you all so much for watching. Thank you to my one member. Thank you, Ari. And if you did stick around this long, I did just want to make a little announcement. On October 30th, I am going to be doing my first Twitch stream. I'm going to be doing an Astolfo cosplay. I believe I'm just going to be making viewer decks and just dueling viewers. But I think it's going to be a lot of fun, so if you are around on the 30th, please feel free to hop by on Twitch. I am going to be putting the link in the description below for future reference and making a post on my channel page. But that's going to be about it for the video. Thank you all so much for watching, if you still are, and I'll be seeing you all later. Bye-bye. Thank you guys so much for watching the video. If you wanted to talk to more Yu-Gi-Oh! Players like yourself, I would highly recommend checking out our Discord server. Link is going to be in the description, as well as the QR code on screen. We do talk somewhat frequently about Yu-Gi-Oh! And the current meta, so I would really enjoy to see you there. As well as we do recently now have channel memberships available on our YouTube channel, where we have 3 different tiers. We have Super Supporter at $2 a month, where you get loyalty badges, emojis, guaranteed comment responses, a shout out at the end of every video, as well as access to the members only Discord channel, where you get early sneak peeks at future videos. There is the Giga Supporter at $5 a month, where you have early access to all new videos about a day or 2 before they go up, as well as all the previous offers. And for $15 a month, we do have our final tier, which is going to be Femboy Fanatic. You get a guaranteed customized video every single month, as well as 1 hour of my time. Could be for anything you'd like. You want a duel? Absolutely. You want me to help build a deck? Absolutely. You want to play some Helldivers? Sure. I'll do anything for an hour once a month. But supporting does help me out quite a lot, and it does help me produce all of these videos. So thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll be seeing y'all later. Bye-bye.